Orange, orange, testing orange. Orange, orange, testing orange. Yellow, yellow, testing yellow. Yellow, yellow, testing yellow.
I think you are the yellow.
Okay.
You should have been the orange, but this should be me since I'm a UTC grad. Here's what I'll do. I'll get up. I'm going to do a very quick thumbnail on your background, very quick. Then I'm going to pull out a couple of quotes from materials that you shared with us as a committee. Okay, some things that you talked about, and then I will ask you if you probably know now. I'll ask you the first question. And what I'm going to say is, we're glad you're here. Uh, Here's how I want to start as the audience starting to think of their questions. And I'll say now, when you've got a question, please open up your hand. You will be asked to identify who you are and what your association is with Chattanooga State, either faculty or that. So you know who you're talking to. But I'm going to ask you, so you're here to be president of Chattanooga State. What brought you here? We saw that, but that gives you a chance to sort of start off by saying, here's my vision of what it's all about.
Okay.
Okay, then
Should I talk at all about my background at that
it's up to you.
Okay.
But what I would do, if you want to add more than what I'll do,
Okay.
I mean, I'm basically going to say, you understand community college because you got an associate degree, so that's where you started. You've been in higher education since 1999.
97.
Seven.
Yeah.
Let me look. I'm trying to do this off the top of my head. 97. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hit the highlights about fellowshipping. I will use the current name of the school in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the one up in Binghamton, New York. And finally, she's the co-chair of our security safety task force. Yeah. And then I switch. So that's what I will be doing. Just a thumbnail.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And so you can feel like if you want to add something else that I missed.
Okay. Okay. And do you want me on this side or this? I mean, where do you want
Well,
me to
the
stand?
question is wherever you want to, because this is being live streamed.
Okay.
And if you want to stand, if you're somebody that walks,
Yeah, I'm a walker.
that's what I say. So that's fine.
Okay.
Really good. Let me make sure.
So should I hold this at this point?
Yes. We ready? Do we have to turn these on? And okay. Are we good? Well, good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. About 2.5 years ago, I had this same opportunity. I guess I was a little surprised we'll be back this soon, but you ought to feel good that you picked a great president of Chattanooga State who went on to become chancellor of the Tennessee Board of Regents. So I think that's a great compliment for the person who was here, what she had done, moves on. But now we have a chance to do it all over again. I want to use this opportunity before I introduce Dr. Ashford to remind you that we're going to do this 3 more times. So thank you for being here today. You'll have another opportunity to do this at the same time, same place tomorrow, on Friday, and next Tuesday. And I hope you will afford yourself that opportunity to be here, because there is not a better way for you to have an opportunity to listen, to ask questions, and have an engagement interaction with one of these people who's going to be the next president at Chattanooga State. And this is great, because then when they're selected, you remind them of that day they stood in front of you and that you want them to do it again. So again, thank you for being here. So let's get started. Oh, by the way, I guess I'll say my name is Tom Griscom, and I'm on the Board of Regents, and I've chaired the search committee. So let me make sure, for those of you who don't know why I'm standing up here saying these things, why I'm here. We started off with a pool of 62 candidates. It was a very broad, diverse pool. That also says a lot about higher education in Tennessee, says a lot about the community we all live in, and definitely says something about what you are doing here at Chattanooga State. So let me introduce to you Dr. Rebecca Ashford. Her husband, Richard, is in town, but he's out sort of checking out Chattanooga. So he's not with us here at this event. And she told me if he was, she might be a little more nervous. So that's good. That's good. So Dr. Ashford has been in higher education since 1997. She started out in college with an associate's degree. She's a community college graduate. That's how she started. She is currently the Vice President of Student Affairs at Pellissippi State Community College, just that small town up the road from us that keeps thinking they're bigger than we are. She's been there since 2008. In addition, she was the Vice President of Student Affairs, the Dean of Student Services, and Enrollment Manager for Eastern Florida State College, and was the Vice President of Student Affairs at Broome Community College in New York. She co-chaired TBR's Safety and Security Steering Committee that made recommendations to be considered this year by the legislature on improving those processes on all of our campuses. I'm going to read you 3 quotes that she shared with us as a committee. Students and their success are at the heart of what I do. A spirit of collaboration is vital to success of our students. And a culture of excellence is created by supporting faculty and staff as well as students. So I'm going to do what she knows I have done when she came before us as a board, as a steering committee, a selection committee. I'm going to ask her the first question. But before I do, once she answers, then if you have a question, please raise your hand. Don't start asking your question until we get a microphone so we can make sure it gets on the live stream. And I will ask you to give your name and what's your affiliation. Faculty, student, alumni, community member, just so Dr. Ashford knows a little bit about who you are as she answers. So here's my question. You've applied for this position. You've had a chance to be in Chattanooga from last night with the dinner and out on the campus today. As you've looked at it and think about it, why do you feel like this is the place you want to be and the presidency that you would like to have?
Thank you very much. And first of all, thank you all for coming out today and for all the people I've already met with. I know you've already spent a lot of time with me, and I appreciate that so much. And I really, truly appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you and hear what you're looking for in your next president at Chattanooga State. So last year, I had the opportunity to be here at Chattanooga State several times. And it was interesting to me because, I've been in the system for about 9 years now, and hadn't been to Chattanooga State before. Had worked very closely with some of the folks here on various projects or through the board, but not been on campus until last year. And I think I was on campus about 3 times last year for various meetings. And thought the campus, my first impressions were, this is a beautiful campus, and look at all this artwork and this wonderful pond here at the front. And last spring, I can't remember which meeting it was. It might have been a behavioral intervention team meeting that I was here for. There were lots of people. We were in this building, in this room, doing training, and there were lots of people, and it was kind of crazy out there, and I'd gone to the restroom, and one of the custodial staff was so helpful and was giving directions and helping people in the bathrooms, out of the bathroom. I know that's kind of a strange thing to talk about here in an open forum, but that person was so helpful, and I complimented her on her helpfulness and shared with my colleague, Debbie Adams, later in the day how helpful the custodial staff was here. And that really, I think that speaks to me about the college culture when I see people at every level being very helpful and concerned about visitors on campus. So that was a very good impression I had on the college. Of course, I've worked with Debbie over the years in Student Affairs Subcouncil. Think very highly of her. She's just a top-notch person. This past year had the opportunity to work with Karen, my colleague here over in the anatomy area, and was so impressed with her and her attention to detail and hard work on that committee. There was a lot of work that went into that. So I was impressed with what I saw in the people here at Chattanooga State. And when this position was advertised again, I thought, well, maybe I'll put in for it. And I fully thinking I will apply for this job, and this will just really be a good opportunity for me to update my resume. Because certainly I will not be called in for an interview, but I was thrilled to have the first level interview. And last week when I found out I was a finalist was just even more thrilled and so happy to have this opportunity. So someone said earlier today, I can't remember which session it was in, that they considered Pellissippi State sort of a cousin or a sister institution to Chattanooga State. And I guess I probably feel the same way about Chattanooga State relative to Pellissippi, that, we're about the same size, both top-notch institutions. And so I think for me, it's probably about the only TBR school that I would want to apply to. This is the first presidency I've ever applied for. I won't be applying for every presidency that comes open. It's more looking for the right fit. So that's kind of what brings me here to you today. Thank you.
So who's got a question? Who's got the first question? Right over here. Let's get the mic. And if you would just give us your name and your affiliation, and we'll go from there.
Okay, I'm Brian Hale. I'm an English professor here. I'm going to ask you the question I've asked all the other candidates 2 years ago.
I wish I'd watched those open forums.
One of my former department heads, who now works at the Tennessee Board of Regents, was inspired by NASCAR to bring something of excellence from that institution to us. Is there some other organization, corporation, institution that inspires you, that is a model for something you'd like to bring to higher education?
Let me think about that for a second. So I've been doing a lot of reading about leadership lately, and so I'm going to have a hard time remembering where I heard this. Right now I'm teaching a leadership development course. I've been reading tons of, and again, I apologize for the people who've been with me throughout the day today because you've heard this. But there was one article I was reading about a gentleman who was a new CEO to an organization, and I apologize that I can't remember which organization it was, but it wasn't education, it was in business. And he spent the first, I think, year just listening to people. And from that, he wrote that he had better outcomes because he spent so much time listening and understanding the culture of the organization and understanding what the organization valued, needed, what the concerns were, and they were able to move forward. After that period of time, they were able to move forward together collaboratively much better than they would have had he not spent the time doing that. So I think I look up to that. I look up to that as a model of leadership, of this listening. I think that's incredibly important, and I really wish I could remember the organization where this CEO did that, but that was inspirational to me and sort of affirming. You know, sometimes I think there's pressure as a new leader in an organization to come in and make some splashy changes and, you know, suddenly things are just turned around. But sometimes you have to go slow to go fast. In other words, talk and really find out what the issues are and what's important and what we all as an institution have the strength to do before you just rush into something. Thank you.
Who has the next question? Right here.
He really is Phil Donahue. he said that earlier.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to our campus
Thank
again.
you.
And thank you for being here.
Thank you.
My name is Anita Polk Conley. I'm a math professor.
Okay.
And I would like to know, I guess we're a little too close to each other maybe. But I would like to know, actually to follow up on what you just said, what would you do in like the first week, the first month, after you may become our president?
Okay. Well, the very first things I would start doing would be meeting with people on campus. Of course, if I started July 1st, there would be fewer people on campus, but I think to start meeting with the folks on campus and just start listening. I would also meet with important people like Mr. Griscom and ask him who in the community do I need to be meeting with? I would ask Debbie Adams, who do I need to be meeting with in the community? I would ask Flora Tidings, who do I need to be meeting with in the community? I would ask you all, who do I need to be meeting with? And start establishing relationships. I think that would be the very most important thing to do within the first week, within the first month. And really, I see within the first six months. You know, obviously those sorts of things take time, and I would need to invest the time in doing that. And find a place to live.
Next question.
Hi, my name is Edna Varner, and I'm on the Chat State Foundation Board. And I first developed a close relationship with Chat State when I was a high school principal of a school with students who really struggled with so many issues, had such promise. And what I was told was, don't try to get them into a big impersonal university. They need a community, they need a family. But that's a tall order to teach them determination and stamina and all of that. And what we experience is what a lot of institutions of higher ed experience. We get them in here, but we can't get them through. We can't get them to graduation. So in your experience, what should we be thinking about to raise our graduation rates?
Thank you very much for that question. And I wish I had a one-size-fits-all pill that we could all take or give to the students or give them a shot when they come in that's going to make them successful. But obviously, that's not the case. But some of the things that I think are most critical, I think it's really important for students when they start that they understand why they're here, that they have a goal in mind. You know, without a goal and your reason for why you're in college, it's kind of hard to keep working and taking classes towards something. So I think that's the first thing, is have a goal. I think it's very important to have an academic plan. You know, there's a lot of talk right now that the phrase pathways, that word, the catchphrase pathways, that's a very in vogue word right now. I always think you have an academic plan is what I kind of equate to pathways. Do you have a plan? Have you met with someone and mapped out what it's going to take for you to, what courses for you to take every semester for you to meet your goal. I think those two things are critical. And then I think it's important for the student to connect with someone or some group on campus, whether that's your faculty. I get a sense that in the TCAT arena and in community college, in the credit arena, that connecting with your faculty is critical. The faculty spend the most time with students, and I think those connections are so important for the student to feel like they can connect with their faculty, for students to connect with people outside of the classroom, to connect with each other, and feel like they belong. I think those are two, in addition to the goal and having a plan, I think that's another piece of it. I think some of the initiatives that System Office has developed are amazing. We've seen system-wide, and certainly at Pellissippi State, and I'm certain at Chattanooga State, we have seen a lot of progress with the co-requisite remediation classes that we have, so that students aren't getting stuck in their developmental remedial classes and being discouraged because they're not taking anything for college credit, and then saying, well, I'll never get out of this, and it's hard, and then dropping out. And I see that co-requisite remediation as a system-wide game changer. So those are some of the things that I think are important for retention. And, I think it's critically important. I know the IR person here, the research and data folks are here and slumping down in the chair. I think it's really important for us to be looking at our data. What does it tell us? Obviously within TBR, we are funded on a funding formula, and we have benchmarks that we have to meet. I've thought about this a lot. What if I did become the president of Chattanooga State? What would I do? How would we do this? I would think we would have a lot of conversations and a lot of focus on our performance on performance funding, and not just at the VP level, but at every level. Let's all be talking about where we are, sharing the data, so that everyone knows kind of how we're moving along in that. That's the truth and how we're funded now. Obviously, enrollment is a huge part of that as well. So I'm kind of rambling now. I'm going from retention to funding. I'm answering a different question. Sorry. Thank you. Yes, sir. Oh, sorry.
I'll help you, Joe.
Thank you. Well, since you called me out, Dr. Ashford.
Sorry.
That's all right.
I regret that.
So this is a three-part question. Based on the three big principles that we're teaching in leadership, how will you build trust, communication, and unity within the campus community here?
I think the only ways to build trust and unity, and what was the last thing? And communication. Well, first of all, to communicate openly and authentically and often. At the meeting at lunchtime today, the term shared governance came up, and that's so critically important, because how can you have trust if all decisions are being made in a closed-door room and people don't understand why, or that a decision was made? So I think that shared governance is critically important. And if I were selected for the position, I'd probably start talking to you all about, so what does that look like? What does it look like now? And what does it need to look like to have an organization where we have a culture of trust? I think that's for an organization to be healthy, for us to break out of our silos and talk to each other and work together collaboratively, we have to have that. And I think that shared governance is critical to that, and open, authentic communication.
We've already got a question back here in the left corner.
Hi, I'm Joe Schroeder. I teach in computer programming. A question about management style. What have you put in place to make sure that ensures that your projects and your programs continue in your absence or as you leave, should we choose you? And also, will Pellissippi State still talk to us if we do choose you?
Well, I hope so on the second piece. And so I have an excellent team of people in student affairs. I have an excellent leadership team. who know what's happening. They know what's going on. They know what I do. I kind of feel like you hire good people and you let them do their job, intervene when they need you to, provide guidance when that's necessary. And that's how I've operated at Pellissippi. So to be quite honest with you, I was gone yesterday, gone today. They don't know that I'm gone because they know what they're doing. There are a few things that I alone handle that I will need to figure out, that I would possibly need to figure out some kind of transition plan for that. But overall, it's pretty minor. Thank you. Good question.
Next question. Back there, Ray.
How you doing?
Hello.
My name's Tad McCants. I've been here a year now.
Okay.
And all I've been hearing, and I work for plant operations, and for the past year I've been hearing about outsourcing.
Yeah.
How do you feel about outsourcing?
Well, I think it is, well, first of all, from what I understand, colleges would have the option, but that could change, and I might not fully understand that. But it concerns me. Remember earlier I talked about the custodial staff and how helpful they were. That's because they're part of the college culture, and they know the mission of Chattanooga State. They know that being helpful to guests, to students, to faculty and staff, they know that's critical. So it concerns me. I don't know to what extent we have a lot of control over it. Again, I do think that there, from what I understand, there's possibly some latitude on the part of the colleges, but it does concern me if we had to do that we would lose staff who are dedicated to the college and understand the mission and understand why we're here. Yeah, I want to share a story from Pellissippi. About 2 years ago, we had a student in one of our buildings, kind of our main classroom building on the Hardin Valley campus, and that building, if you've ever been in it, it's kind of open, and it's 3-story, and there's the hallways are kind of open. It's open in the center, and we had a student who was about to jump, and it was 2 of our maintenance staff who stopped that young man from jumping. And they, it was early in the morning. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning. So they were there, and they stopped him. They pulled him down, and they brought him to one of the counselor's office. And I don't know that would happen if they weren't college employees. First of all, who cared enough to do that. Second, who felt like they could do it. So, anyway, I don't know if that really answers your question, but
We got one right here.
Hello again.
hello again.
Darren Hassefort, Dean of Humanities and Fine Arts.
Yes.
Following up a little bit on the situation you just referenced, we have amazing faculty at this institution. And more often than not, what prevents a student from being successful is not academic. It's not their mind. They are completely capable of doing the work in the classroom. But factors of life
Yes.
get in the way. Transportation, work schedule. We have students who work more hours than I have ever seen before. Would you address these factors coming from a student affairs side and also looking at being a president and over academic affairs in ways you might address that problem?
Absolutely. So, of course, I'm going to reference Pellissippi State because we've done a lot in this area. First of all, we have faculty who have released time to serve as student success coordinators, and they're assigned to each of the academic departments. And they've received a lot of training to either directly be a resource to students or to be a resource to faculty to connect students to external resources, bus schedules, ways that students could get food, you name it, external counseling services should they need that, legal services. Our counseling department at Pellissippi State does the same thing. They help connect students to services off campus. Because yes, we recognize that so many of the issues that students bring to us are completely out of our control. They're working full time, they've got children, maybe they take care of parents, and are stressed out and are, like you said, working more than you've ever seen before. I think that's more the rule, not the exception, that someone is working a lot and has a lot of external responsibilities. Some other things that we've done at Pellissippi State that I'm really proud of as a college, I think I mentioned at the lunchtime meeting, we have this just dynamo English faculty member who started our service learning program. Well, one of the other things she started was a food pantry on campus, and that's run based on a partnership with Second Harvest Food Bank. People bring donations to it. You can donate to it through the foundation, donating money. We have a garden on campus where we grow food, and she's employed Vista volunteers. I mean, it's just this major operation, and that's part of addressing the hunger, the food shortage situation that some of our students face. So I think first of all, by ensuring that we have connections in the community to support our students, that we're spreading the word about these community resources that our students have. Because let's face it, I mean, colleges, especially community colleges, we don't have the funds to provide all of these resources, but we can partner with our community organizations to do that. And, if opportunities like the food pantry situation at Pellissippi are available, I think it's important to lean into those and take advantage of them.
Hello, my name is Nisha Evans, and I'm the coordinator of the Building Outstanding Service Scholars program here.
Okay.
And my question is about diversity.
Mm-hmm.
So in your current position at Pellissippi State, what does diversity look like to you? How have you incorporated diversity and inclusion on your campus? I'd like to hear what you've done.
Yeah. So at Pellissippi State, I'm proud to say that the Student Affairs Division has the most diverse division at the college. And that's not by accident. It's very intentional. We have tried to become more diverse in our hirings and when we have open positions, to try to make sure we are recruiting diverse candidates. I think it's very critical to the success of all of our students, for students to come on campus and have faculty and staff who look like them and who they can relate to. So I think that's incredibly important. So I'm really proud of the efforts we've made in student affairs. I think we still have a ways to go. I'm also proud that a couple of years ago, our Access and Diversity Office was moved under Student Affairs. They were doing all kinds of student affairs-y kind of stuff, but for some reason, it was under College Advancement. So we made that change to move it under Student Affairs. One of my priorities was, well, first of all, I saw how this one-person office was doing an amazing job of supporting minority students and adult learners. With one person. I think she had a part-time contract person. And she was doing an amazing job. The students were graduating, they felt supported, they felt connected, they had a place where they could go and feel like they belonged and meet with other students and meet with her. So we had an opening come up in our admissions and records office, and I worked with the leadership there to say, we have a need here. This is a critical piece for the college. It's a priority that we increase our retention of our minority students, and that we increase our retention and recruitment of adult learners. So we made the decision to move a position to help support that office. With that move, we were able to move some of her supports from just one campus to more than one campus, and that has been a very good thing. I'm proud to say that under Student Affairs, we have two different minority male initiatives on our Magnolia Avenue campus. We have a grant through TBR for a minority male mentoring program where we connect with minority male leaders in the community to provide mentoring to our students, and also for faculty and staff who are minority males to provide mentoring. Unfortunately, we don't have enough minority males on campus to provide the mentoring that we'd like to have. So there's just not enough. And so partnering with people in the community is really important for that. And then also on our Hardin Valley campus, working with our Access and Diversity Office. We have also another minority male program there where they're sort of mentoring each other. They have regular workshops with each other, and I'm also proud to say that that particular program was started by one of our students, who's going to be our honor graduate and speak at graduation in May.
Next question is to your right, toward the back.
Hello again.
Hello.
My name is Gladys Pineda-Lord. I'm the Director of International Community Outreach. And my question is, we have a very brief conversation when I met you this morning, and I was wanting to hear more about that, the international community and ESL programs. I know that you're bringing a group of students to France, and we have a study abroad here as well, but yes. I want to hear more about maybe experience or initiatives in the past with the international local community. Is, by the way, growing, and is one of my focus, and I would like to hear about that.
Okay.
Thanks.
So Pellissippi State, we have a number of international students on our campus, and several years ago, we had a gentleman who was in charge of our international student coordinator, was his title, and he was under the admissions office, and he was actually from Morocco, and he spoke several different languages. And when he was there, boy, did our recruiting of international students just go through the roof. We pretty much doubled our number of international students because he could speak their language. He brought a lot of students in from the Middle East. Students from that region, they often can afford, the ones from Saudi Arabia can afford to come to the United States and study. Now we very intentionally made the decision, and I was completely behind this, to move that position from student affairs to our TENSIS office, because there's so much already going on with international education with that office, and it just made sense for there to be synergies there. If for recruiting international students, it made sense for that position to be with that office, because there could be shared travel and that sort of thing that could happen to help recruit students. So we have an international student club to help support students and connect our international students together. And of course, we have ESL faculty who are very good at supporting their ESL students and the international students and providing them a nice support system. What we struggle with there is not having housing, and the location of our campuses not incredibly close to housing, and the housing that it is close to is rather expensive, so we have some struggles there. Of course, international education is huge at Pellissippi State. The TENSIS office is located right there on campus, and so I think we have at Pellissippi the highest number of community college students who study abroad. And of course, we have the short-term programs through TENSIS, and I know we have people in this room probably who have led TENSIS programs. And you mentioned, and I'm just gonna add to that I think I might have mentioned I'm teaching a leadership development class right now, and what will happen once that class ends at the beginning of May, it's a 5-week class, very condensed. I will take my students, my 11 students, and we will travel to France. We will go to Cherbourg and in the Normandy region, and so I'm really excited about that. So I hope that answered your question somehow. Thank you.
We got a question back here in the back.
My name is Willie Thomas, Judicial Affairs. Could you tell us about a time where your judgment has been questioned during a crisis?
Yes. I can. Let me pick one. Oh my, hold on, let me think. So some of you have already heard this example, and so for that I apologize. But it is truly, as I think back over my career, and certainly my role as the Chief Conduct Officer at one point at Pellissippi State. My first several years there, I was the Chief Conduct Officer. And again, I apologize for those of you who've heard this, but it was probably one of the most stressful I've ever dealt with, and you'll learn why. So we had a student who was distributing religious tracts on campus. And of course, I see lots of issues going on here. There were people who were very angry that he was distributing religious tracts. There was sometimes there was some antagonism going on with this person and others he would bring to campus, and the people just trying to walk to and fro campus. The issue was we didn't have a policy that addressed this. And so we had nothing to guide our decision making. I spoke to my president, who's not my president now, he's retired, and he was very clearly against allowing this to happen on campus. Spoke to our TBR attorney, of course, this is a major First Amendment issue, and she's saying, no, we need to allow this to happen on campus. I'm going, well, that's kind of what I thought. And unfortunately, we didn't have a policy. So I recommended to the student, in consultation with the attorney, that he work with one of our clubs and make this a club event. And he did what was needed there and made it a club event that they would go and distribute tracts. People were still very upset about this on campus. But that was the decision I had to make based upon advice from the attorney and the fact that we had no policy. There were a couple of different outcomes with this. The first being I found out because it was in the paper. I actually was never served directly. The student sued me. And so that was a little stressful, seeing that in the paper. And that ended up getting settled along the way. However, the good part about it was that I had the opportunity to help craft the system policy that addresses distribution of literature on campus, and of course the Pellissippi State policy. So that was a good experience. I learned a lot from it. I felt like I grew as a professional, but it was challenging having my decision-making questioned by anyone on campus who disagreed with it, and also by the president of the college. So that was a challenging situation. Yeah, thank you.
Next question, right here. I'll give you mine.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Donna Siegel. I'm a faculty member here and the director of our, how do I explain what I'm director of? Let's see. I'm director of our Faculty Center is what we had been calling it. Now we're academic research because I do work with faculty, staff, and students.
Okay.
So my question, we're in Achieving the Dream School.
Yes.
What is your opinion of colleges being involved with Achieving the Dream, pros and cons?
Wow. So good question. I've not been involved with Achieving the Dream in the past, but I kind of understand the concept of making these broad changes to the college to help promote student success. That's something, if I were selected for this position, I'd be really excited to learn more, obviously. Would need to learn more and get involved and see what's happening with that. So, I'm going to piggyback on something we discussed earlier today when I met with the VP group. I think the pros are obvious. Focusing on student success, focusing on college-wide initiatives that can raise the success levels of all students. I think that's a really positive thing. I think the challenge is ensuring that you stay on course and not be distracted by hundreds of other initiatives that might come up, so that you're not focusing on that Achieving the Dream or whatever the big initiative is. So I think that's been something that's been a challenge. I have felt that as a challenge at Pellissippi State. We start in one direction and now we're pulled, and it's sort of like this big project we were working on is now totally forgotten. So I think that's the challenge that you have to overcome. I don't know that that's a con, but it's something that I think the leadership of the college needs to be sensitive to and ensure that we're not getting off course.
In the back.
Yes, we have completed, year 2 of Tennessee Promise. By the way, I'm Keisha Caldwell, and I am in recruiting and orientation.
Hi.
Now we're getting ready to beef out the Tennessee Reconnect. Learning from the rollout of the Promise, what is something that you would do different with the Tennessee Reconnect coming out?
This is kind of a hard question for me because at Pellissippi State, we were involved in Promise when it started as Knox Achieves. And that started, shortly after I started working at Pellissippi State. So it's kind of always been part of our culture, at least since the time that I've been there. So I don't really know Pellissippi State without Tennessee Promise, Tennessee Achieves, Knox Achieves. But I think that having that experience with Tennessee Promise already will probably help inform what we need to do in terms of financial aid and the processing. First of all, the commitment in personnel that will be required to effectively complete the program and roll out the program. I'm trying to think of some others. You know, there are two different programs with adult learners, of course, with Reconnect, and Pellissippi State's, our president has started a last dollar scholarship for adults this year called Reconnect Now. And we've had enormous response to that. But I think having the background processes in place and ready to go, and probably making sure we're communicating very well about what the program is to everyone. And I see that to be critically important in communicating with the academic side of the house. You know, we're going to be recruiting and getting lots of new adult learners on campus. So I think it's critical that we ensure that we have programs offered at times when adults can take classes in order to meet the demands that I anticipate we will have. So I think that communication piece is important so that people can start planning for next year.
So, Dr. Ashford, we're going to have one down front. You
Okay,
want a drink
sorry
of water?
about that.
No, you're okay.
Hi, Dr. Ashford.
Hello.
I'm Lisa Summy. I work in the president's
Yes.
office. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
I have a question. What do you see as Chattanooga State's role in relationship to the community of Chattanooga?
I think Chattanooga State plays an enormous role in the community of Chattanooga. All I have heard and read in preparation for today has been the critical role that Chattanooga State plays in workforce education, in partnering with, starting with high schools and providing dual enrollment opportunities, providing being a college of choice, I'm going to say that, for our graduating high school students, being a college of choice for adults who want to return to school, but being the most valued partner for our business and industry to provide training for their workforce, and also to work with organizations like the Chamber to recruit new business and industry to the Chattanooga State area. So I think our role is many-fold. In a, it's so cliche to say this, but community is our middle name. We are. That's who we serve, is the community. So I think all of those things are critical. And like I said, in preparation for this interview process, I got a very strong sense of that, and that's a great thing.
Next question is center left.
Hi, Dr. Ashford.
Hello.
I'm Sandy Rutter, and I'm Dean of Student Life and Judicial Affairs. Well, I don't think I need this. But what do you see as the role? I've heard you mention clubs a couple of times now.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see as the role of a student life program in a community college?
I see the role of student life being to provide the co-curricular the co-curricular programming. So one of the things I'm really proud that we've been working on in the last year at Pellissippi State is developing student learning outcomes for student life. We're in the process of rolling this out. We've partnered with some faculty to help us with this, but to come up with what are the things we want our students to learn or be able to do by being involved in student life, whether it's a club or being in a leadership role on campus. And there's a book that just came out written by a colleague at a college in Texas, and it's all about how student life and the co-curricular can really help students to build job skills, help enhance their public speaking, help enhance their technology skills. And to me, that's something I've really been wanting to lean into at Pellissippi State, and if I were to get this position, at Chattanooga State as well. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Laquita Sewell. I'm Director of Records. For many years, I was also faculty, so I was just wondering, you are in student affairs. What do you feel the role is between student affairs and academic affairs, and how we could work more closely together?
Well, I think we have to work more closely
absolutely.
together, in every way that we possibly can, because that makes the organization stronger to support students. I think it's important, for so many levels, like you're in records, so you need to know everything that's happening curriculum-wise. You need to be communicating back to academic affairs about where are some pain points, what are some things that they need to consider in developing new things. We need to be working together as a leadership team in moving the college forward on student success initiatives. So I just think that partnership truly needs to be a partnership and to work very closely together. And that's one of the things I've really enjoyed at Pellissippi State. I've worked very closely with faculty over the years that I've been there, and that's been part of the most fulfilling part of my job, is working with faculty. And so I just think it's critical that we do that to support students.
Now, so
all right, because my feet hurt.
Right over here.
Hi, I'm Chris Schiltz. I'm an executive secretary here. Tagging onto that,
yes.
How would you break down those silos that you have throughout the community colleges?
Yeah, it's a challenging thing, and I'd like to say that at Pellissippi State that we have no silos, but I'm not a fool. We do. I think, well, first of all, I've talked a lot about communication. I think open and honest communication. There's something that I'm working on right now at Pellissippi State within student affairs to help break down silos in student affairs, and that is having we're calling them shared local work teams, where people in various departments are talking to each other, but they're not being led by their managers. They're being led by frontline staff. And then all of those groups are coming together regularly on a quarterly basis to talk about the issues that they're dealing with and addressing. And it's all, in this process, it's all related to the student enrollment or onboarding. That's the catchphrase right now, the onboarding process. And so this is a new initiative. This is something we're trying out, and I think it's going well. What I love about that is it has people talking to each other that normally didn't talk to each other, and it has frontline staff people developing leadership skills that they didn't know that they had. I'll never forget this particular young woman said, I really want to develop leadership skills, and I want to be a leader, and I just don't have any skills right now. And I said, but you do. You're doing it right now. And I think just for her to see herself that in a different way, in this sort of non-threatening environment, was a good thing. And I think it's critical that all of us see ourselves as leaders. I think because we have to make decisions closer to the student. I think that helps the student to be more successful. It helps the process to be less bureaucratic.
So Dr. Ashford, we didn't have this last time, but this lets you know there are people watching you, because we've got an
I don't want to know that.
Question. The online question is this: what are your 3 to 5 core values, and how do they shape how you would lead?
3 to 5 core values. One of them is honesty, courage, I'm trying to, I've been doing a lot of this lately, teaching this leadership class. Honesty, courage, and hardworking, and hard work are, I think, probably my 3 strongest core values. I think the honesty and the courage go hand in hand. You know, we've talked a lot about communication. I've talked a lot about communication today. It's hard to communicate openly and authentically because sometimes we don't always agree. And I think it takes courage to openly communicate with people. And the hard work, I mean, that's just part of it. I don't think there are any notions that as a college president you wouldn't work hard. So those are probably my top 3.
We got a question in the back.
Hi, my name is Nathan Payne. I'm an engineering student here.
Yes, thank you for
I
coming.
have a multi-part question.
Oh, dear.
First off, why a community college? Is this a stepping stone for you, or is this something that you've always wanted to do and it's kind of a long-term prospect for you?
So I don't see this, if I were to get this position, as a stepping stone. I've worked in community colleges a long time. I started working in a community college in 1997, I think, or maybe even 96. It's hard to remember. And I am a community college graduate. And I've had people say to me, I have this cousin who lives in the New England area who says, you know, when are you going to work at a university? When are you going to work at a 4-year college? And I say, I don't want to work at a university. I don't want to work at a 4-year college. I believe in the mission of community colleges because community colleges provide educational opportunities to people who might not otherwise have them. I love and am thrilled by working with students whose lives are so totally changed by the degree that they've gotten at a community college, who say, I never thought I could do this, who say, I felt like an imposter when I walked on campus. And that to me that's what gets me up in the morning and makes me want to come to work. I honestly, before, I have thought at various times in my life that perhaps I want to be a community college president, but this is my first shot at it. And if I don't become a community college president, that's okay. But I would like the opportunity. I would like the opportunity to lead an institution and work with an outstanding faculty and staff. I think I've done a lot as a student affairs person. There's more to do, but I feel like I am ready for a new challenge.
So Dr. Ashford, believe it or not, we're going to take one last question, then because I will leave you some time to share any last-minute remarks.
Okay,
so
great.
This person you've already seen before.
Hello.
And welcome again.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, what is your experience in securing external funding? You know, with the nursing program, we are very high dollar, high cost, and we're always looking for opportunities to grow, but one of the things we're limited with funding. So could you share any experience if you've had receiving grants?
Yes. So I've done a little. I think I told some folks earlier, I have raised personally $5,000 from an ask. You know, that's not a grant, but and someone said, well, we need to add some zeros to that. Yeah, I know. But it was a real thrill, and it made me want to do more. But under my area of student affairs, we have secured a number of grants. Our largest is a Department of Labor grant called Universal Pathways to Employment that our Director of Disability Services wrote. She has a passion for this. It was something she wanted to do for a long time. And she wrote this grant and got a $5 million grant to support students with disabilities who are in career tech programs to help them with the social skills and the academic skills they need to be successful in the program, and particularly in their internships. Another component of that is working with employers to get them on board with having students with disabilities do their internships with them and also employing them when they graduate. So that was a big one. We've got a number of TBR grants, a number of local grants. We had a grant last year for our Strawberry Plains campus to do a series of robotics camps for students in the Boys and Girls Club. So those are some of the grants we've received. Advising grants, our Director of Advising has written several grants related to advising Tennessee Promise students and doing intentional advising with them and securing a texting software system called Signalvine. So I have not personally done a lot of grant writing, but I certainly do encourage that within my areas. Thank you.
Dr. Ashford, thank you for your responses to our questions. And so in about 2 minutes left, we'll ask you to share with us any final thoughts you have.
Thank you. I appreciate that opportunity. And again, I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all day today. And it's been a really good day, and I've enjoyed hearing from you. And I'm gonna close by saying the same thing that I said at the lunchtime meeting today. I recognize that I come to this place, to this process, without being a faculty member in a classroom, without having a lot of faculty experience. I recognize that I don't have a lot of workforce development experience. And I recognize that those are critical roles for a college president to have. But what I do bring to the table is a focus on communication, a focus on listening, and a focus on collaboration that I feel are strengths. And I would certainly lean into those. And I have the humility to know what skills I'm lacking and know what I would need to develop in order to be successful in working with you. So those are my final comments. And again, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Ashford. I think you know, as you all travel back up to Knoxville, you've got other questions or things that come to mind. I think you know how to get in touch with people at Chattanooga State. You know how to get in touch with me as the chair of the search committee. And I promise you, we will answer questions you have. So if you've got them. Whoa. Oh. We're all electrified, as you can tell. Let me do one other thing before we leave. I should have done this up front. The people at Chattanooga State who served on this search committee put in a lot of long hours and a lot of time, and those in the community. So could I ask the people who are here today that were members of this search committee to please stand so we can recognize you. Thank you again for being with us. Remember, we're going to do this again tomorrow at the same time. And I think Dr. Ashford would probably be here for a few minutes if people still have questions that they might not have had time to ask or whatever. Is that okay? Great. Thank you again. We appreciate you being here.